Welcome to another Monday of
No One Gets Away with Anything.
Today with you we are
Jose Rafael Chaneri and
Ariana Lopez.
I did this again with the headphones on.
Es parte del vibe.
O
That's
sea,
how
me
you keep them
encanta.
on.
Me encanta, pero se me olvida. Y, tipo, creo que es primera vez que aparezco en un podcast con los audífonos puestos.
Este es el backstage that people don't get to see.
We have like the same conversation that you guys hear for like 20 minutes before
Sí.
with my headphones on.
Exactamente. So that Jose can figure out if audio is perfect and everything.
It was.
The brain behind the magic.
The operation.
Exactly. Well, hoy vamos
How
a hablar
are
de
you?
lo que nos encanta hablar.
Ay, sí.
We're hopeless romantics.
El amor.
El amor es una... Ay, ¿sabes qué? Ayer no. It took me 3 nights to finish a movie because I fall asleep. But I watched a movie that was called Crazy Stupid Love.
You hadn't seen Crazy Stupid Love?
I hadn't. Y me reí tanto, Dios mío.
David Langehagen. Love that movie.
Bro, if you hadn't watched it... Pero es que el final, como que I was watching the movie very naively. And I was not expecting the end. Y cuando llegó, I was laughing my ass off. And I was
It's
all by
really good.
myself in my apartment. Y yo, marico, qué buena película.
¿No la habías visto de pana?
I'd never. Como I was looking for like a, romantic comedy to fall asleep about. Como que to watch before going to sleep.
Yeah.
Porque ahorita estoy de vacaciones and I have time to watch movies in my... Y yo, wow. Wow.
What is this freedom?
¿Qué hago con todo este tiempo? Y bueno, it took me 3 nights again. Entonces anoche la vi, tipo, la última parte que me faltaba. Y fue como que todas las buenas cosas de la película en esa parte. Además, tipo, Ryan Reynolds, it's so fucking hot. Y yo, señor.
You should watch Stuck in Love.
Esa será mi próxima víctima. Está en Netflix. If
Muy
it's
buena.
Netflix, I can
Probably not Netflix, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But Stuck in Love it's the kind of movie that you feel like it's an adaptation of a book,
Okay,
but it's not. And it's like, wow, I want to read this book so much, and it doesn't exist. So.
It doesn't, qué triste. Bueno, lo puedes escribir. You can write the book.
No, I mean, that would be stealing a story.
You can be
I'm gonna
inspired.
write a better book. But
Wow.
Stuck in Love es super buena porque habla del amor y como tipo people can be, how they're in love and how people love each other. And it's
Sí.
really nice. It's a really good book.
Pues sí. Pero es que nosotros siempre... It's funny because it's like we've done so many love episodes and they're really not popular. But we love
We
to
keep
do
doing them.
It's like 2 people watching. It's like, well, fair enough. I'll take it.
So why are we doing this today?
Well, we do it because there's a couple things that we've been, reflecting upon in regards to relationship. There's been like updates.
Like relationships is one of the things we have in common. We have very
Exacto,
serious relationships
sí.
in our life.
And well, his is a bit longer than mine. Like, yeah.
How much is yours?
Ours is a year and 3 months. So
Mine
I
is
think
a
yours
year
are
and
your 9
9,
months.
yeah.
Son exactamente 6 meses de diferencia.
Wow.
I already knew that. So yeah, it's kind of fun to talk about it.
Yeah. So we're at this point it's not a weird point. I think it's a nice point of the story where we have a long-term relationship now. Like it's no longer short-term.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a long-term relationship.
Si le preguntas a tu papá,
Probablemente no.
estaría en desacuerdo.
Probablemente estaría en desacuerdo. Pero es que bueno, I think that, look, it's crazy when people say they got married after 4 months.
Sí.
It's not crazy when people say they got married after a year and a half.
Sí, es verdad.
Okay, so we're in long-term relationship territory.
Las cosas son importantes.
Y tenemos un pequeño guest with us today, Moet.
Moet.
No sé si alguno lo ha visto, but he generally
Is
always
around.
goes towards Ariana and like tries to get there. So we're in long-term relationship territory, and we
Exacto.
just wanted to like give an update on how that is, like how
Sí.
that feels. Y nosotros, we had both of them on the podcast in the
Exacto.
last couple of weeks.
Which is basically one of the things that we want to talk about. It's like, since the very first time that we started, recording, having them in, they've always been in the picture.
Yeah, they've always been a part of the podcast in the background, like
Exacto.
always helping us edit things. They're always giving us opinions on what topics we should
Exacto.
talk
O
about.
anécdotas de ellos en el podcast.
En el podcast.
Tipo, that's kind of like 50% of my content is me saying the conversations I have with him, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of conversations with Maria that end up in the podcast.
Claro. So it's like, they finally came because we thought, okay,
It's time.
it's time for them to come. It was really interesting to have them.
Yeah.
Jose's dad made fun of me because he was like, you're way too in love. Déjame quieta, vale.
It was very, very fun. Y aparte fue muy divertido también porque de las cosas más divertidas para mí fue we had to do, before we recorded, with Adrian, we said like we should have a conversation with our partners about what we want and don't want to say on the podcast. Y tener esa gestión fue demasiado cool. Like, what do we want to say? What don't we want to say? Porque María está en TikTok and she has and your boyfriend does music. Like, they both have a pretty like important online presence part.
Exacto, sí.
Entonces parece estúpido, but it's the kind of conversation that if any one of us blows up in some way could be like a foundational
sí, es verdad.
Conversation.
Es verdad, como we could all the four of us could blow up at some point.
Exacto, o sea, imagínate que Adrian la pega.
A mí.
Entonces Adrian la pega, entonces they
People
interview
see the
you,
podcast.
people see the podcast more, entonces
Y ese tipo de episodio tiene like 10K views.
sí me explico, como que the fact that we had that conversation preemptively, por lo menos, no sé, de mi lado fue súper cool porque fue tipo que estos dos temas no los vamos a tocar en un podcast
Es que
nunca.
a mí eso me dio, no lo había pensado nunca así, como que for me it's simply like, yo lo pensé como un tema de privacidad, o sea, tipo, que cosas simplemente no quieres hablar. Pero nunca, o sea, en mi cabeza no pensé como que, okay, there's a possibility of either the four of us. Porque, o sea, casi que if Maria blows up, it means that, you know, imagine a lot of people sees their podcast and then somehow it ends up going to him. So whatever he says has an impact on whatever Maria says and the other way around even.
Yeah.
Incluso si ellos son como the
Bueno,
twins.
últimamente me ha pasado full que digo que, yo te vi en TikTok. ¿Sabes? Es como que, oh, awesome, it's working. And it might work someday. And that conversation...
Might be the thing that's on TikTok.
And the conversation we had with our partners might be the thing that keeps our relationships from devolving because of the attention.
Exacto.
Que es súper importante. Igual que alguien me dije que sí, yo escuché el otro día lo de no hay hombre más atractivo que un hombre
Te lo
patado.
dijeron, te lo dijeron.
Y fue tipo,
Quote.
yes. Y fue que sí, that was my co-host.
Nogawa 2023.
Yeah. Y entonces estaba hablando con María y una de las cosas que estábamos hablando es tipo, okay, we were looking at TikTok a lot y me dice, tipo, últimamente me he dado cuenta que las parejas que veo en redes sociales, they're always fighting. Tipo, and especially Spanish couples fight, like, talk to each other super brusco, como que with like underlying disdain for the other person.
Okay.
Y entonces se dicen groserías y se tratan feo.
Qué feo,
Y como que no necesariamente es la regla. Yo estoy seguro que hay muchas personas que se tratan así tipo super cuchi. Pero que en general, que el español habla un poco más fuerte que el latino. Y que entonces cuando pones a dos españoles juntos, en general se hablan. Y María me dice, es que tipo, si tú fueras así y tú me dijeras esas cosas, yo lloraría cada 5 minutos, ¿sabes? Tipo, me dirías y que, no sé, gilipollas. Y yo, ¿sabes?
You're telling me dumb.
Tipo, no podría. Sí. Y estábamos hablando de tipo, el otro día estábamos con nuestros amigos and we were having a conversation about what you can and can't say about your relationship with people.
Okay, y
Que una de las cosas que que I have realized es que you can't fight in front of people. That's pretty logical. But you can't disagree on the big things either. O sea, por ejemplo, podemos estar en desacuerdo en qué comer. Podemos estar en desacuerdo en si yo quiero ir a hacer A y tú quieres ir a hacer B. Pero si nos preguntan qué piensas sobre este tema importante, if she agrees, I agree.
okay.
Because if we're going to have a disagreement, we can have it in private.
Okay.
And then, okay, esto vino porque estábamos hablando de todos tenemos esa persona en nuestras vidas que odia a su novio o odia a su novia.
¿Ah, sí?
Tipo, I don't really, but like I don't have that person in my life. Pero
y yo así como que bueno, pero no me he enterado, chico.
Pero everybody's heard that story of that guy de que, ay no, tipo mi novia, la amo, pero verga, que ladilla con esto.
Ah, sí. Pero eso está chimbo.
Está súper chimbo.
Sí.
Pero que lo más cómico de toda esa situación es tipo ese carajo que dice, women. Todas mienten, ¿sabes? Tipo, todas mienten es un poco más cómico, pero si me explico, todas esas personas que hacen eso are basically pointing at themselves and saying, I'm really stupid.
Sí.
Because you chose that person.
Sí.
So why would you be...
Stop.
You're basically saying, I can't choose better than what I already chose. Y es como que... You should take that with a grain of salt. Y decir, tipo, okay, whenever I'm with my partner, she should back me up, I should back her up. Incluso si estoy en desacuerdo. Y que después en privado se resuelva.
Ok.
Y como que we talk about it y dices como que, coño, I disagree, creo que deberíamos hacer esto, pero hacerlo en público, doing that part in public, that can ruin your relationship.
Está bien.
For sure.
Lo que pasa es que la forma en la que yo lo veo, and I question it for the following reason. Imagine you're having a conversation about something like, it doesn't have to be politics, pero un tema controversial. That's not related to ustedes dos en específico. It's like a general topic. Y no tiene que tener que ver con hijos o religion or something. It can be something a bit more trivial, ¿verdad? I don't know. Let's say it's about elections, for example, right?
Okay.
Y imagínate que you're with your friends, right? And you have a very, strong stance about it. And your partner has a relatively strong stance about it. And they're not in the same... O sea, no tienen la misma opinión. Y I don't feel like I would be in, no me sentiría obligada a agree with my partner en ese específico tema. It can be simply like, I don't agree with that, pero I think this. And it could, o sea, creo que se puede quedar ahí, pero como que tampoco cambiaría mi opinión real to the face of other people when I don't actually believe that. Si es algo como más trivial, pues.
Exactly, that's what I mean. If it's a trivial thing, you can disagree with your partner. Man, creo que having disagreements as a couple, especialmente en público con otras personas, is good. Mm-hmm. Tipo, es como imagine that people are always judging you, which they kind of are, but they aren't. Si una persona es capaz de ver que tú eres capaz de resolver un conflicto con tu pareja en vivo,
sí.
No pasa nada y basically your relationship looks a lot stronger. Pero es que depende de lo que estés hablando. O sea,
pero, okay, can you give me an example of algo en lo que you wouldn't publicly disagree on?
Okay, for example, let me think about it. Is the type of subjects that you would usually have a fight about?
But was that something like, I don't know, having kids o menos sofisticado que
Bueno,
eso?
puede ser having kids. O sea, puedes tener una conversación sobre having kids con tus amigos y que María de su opinión y yo de mi opinión. Pero es diferente que María y yo estemos discutiendo sobre tener hijos.
Ok, en eso estoy totalmente de acuerdo. Estoy de acuerdo. Y no me gusta, tipo, I would feel uncomfortable. But más bien diría como que, if I disagree but I don't even want to say it, I would say como, en verdad, I haven't really thought about it. O sea, y lo dejo ir. Porque I don't want to make any public statement that goes against, for example,
And then
Adrian's.
in private, you can talk
Exacto,
about
eso
it.
estoy totalmente de acuerdo. Pero como que, kind of not saying what I believe because of that. O sea, es distinto. Creo que te había entendido mal también.
Sí, bueno, capaz no me expliqué a la mejor manera tampoco. Y bueno, estábamos hablando antes del episodio también de how important it is to learn to fight with your person.
Sí. ¿Sabes qué? There's this guy, I've talked about him a lot. Jay Shetty. He has this book. He has a new book that's called 8 Rules of Love, right? Que me quiero leer, pues, pero I haven't. It's not my priority. Y él dice, love languages are very popular. And there's this thing of like, you need to understand your partner's love languages, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing people don't talk about is fighting styles.
Yeah, the opposite of your love language, right?
Exacto. Entonces, what he says is, often the success of a relationship relies more on understanding the way in which your partner confronts a situation and the way in which they fight rather than the way in which they love. Porque si entiendes como tu pareja argues and you understand how you argue yourself, it's easier to see it clearly.
Yeah.
Porque, por ejemplo, la clásica, bro. When I'm angry about something, I want to say it. When, my boyfriend is angry about something, he doesn't want to say it. He needs some time to think about it.
Yeah.
Y a mí me rechazaba esa vaina como no tienes idea. Y me ponía mal. Y era como que, why can't we just talk about it?
Have a conversation and get this over with.
And he's like, I need time first. Give me 10 hours to think, and then we can speak. Y yo, esas 10 horas y que, mátenme, bro. Tipo, I cannot think of anything that's not this. Ojo, evidentemente eso ha cambiado full, como que, porque I've understood what he needs, and he has understood what I need también, como que, kind of a middle point. Y me parece que tiene toda la razón. Y al sol de hoy, como I do think, like, fights are scary to a certain extent.
Yeah, fights are scary, but they don't have to be. Sí. And I think that's the thing. There's important fights, there's less important fights, and oftentimes a less important fight will mean more than a more important fight. You know what I mean? O sea, muchas veces pelear por una cosa estúpida puede llevar a consecuencias más grandes que tener una conversación sobre un tema que te va a afectar por el resto de tu vida. Lo que te estábamos diciendo el otro día. How difficult was it to talk about what you wanted to talk about in the podcast? Probably not very difficult.
No.
But that could be a substantial and important question for the rest of your relationship. Pero la pelea que tuvieron sobre que si cenar pasta o tofu o pasta con tofu probablemente fue más arrecha. ¿Sí me explico?
Sí.
Entonces, I think that yo también estoy totalmente de acuerdo que es un tema de tipo learning what the flaws in your... O sea, the incompatibilities in your fighting styles are. nosotros tenemos la regla de no necesariamente no acostarse a dormir sin pelear, sino we don't run away from a fight and we don't run away during a fight. O sea, no es tipo, estoy peleando y me voy a ir de tu casa. Es tipo, if you need 5 minutes to breathe, you can take 5 minutes to breathe or 10 minutes to go out the balcony, whatever. Pero no es tipo, me voy a mi casa y nos vemos mañana. We don't do that.
Okay.
Porque ni yo ni ella podemos con ese tipo de... And we know that it's not good for either of us. Like the anxiety of going home and forgetting about it. And como que no funciona. It's a lot better to talk about it. Y generalmente pasa que tipo, I realize that I made a mistake. Or she realizes she made a mistake. Or we both realize we made mistakes. And then we talk about it.
Claro, también está el tema de que, por ejemplo, yo en ese sentido, como te dije, I'm kind of impulsive. Y a veces me salen las vainas mal. O sea, me salen mal porque me salen molesta y digo cosas que no son. Y una vez, ¿sabes qué? Adrian me dice, you're the best person to speak. But when it comes to saying what you feel in a relationship, you're the worst. Y yo, happens. How dare he? Pero es que tenía razón. Era como que, I would be like, yeah, but you don't do this, you don't do that. And I feel bad because you're not doing this for me. Y that would make him feel bad. Entonces era como que...
Y tú lo que querías era, por ejemplo, y pasa fue, I wanted my feelings to be heard, but I didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Exacto.
And what I ended up was hurting your feelings and not feeling
exacto,
hurt.
Exactamente.
Pasa full a menudo.
Y es complicado, marico.
Es súper complicado.
Por ejemplo, otra cosa que trato de hacer, it's never say you, bla, bla, bla. Es como que, I feel.
It's called assertive communication.
Claro, que a veces ni siquiera funciona.
No, muchas veces no funciona porque nada más le pones un I feel adelante a exactamente lo que querías decir.
Exacto. Y
no
como que
funciona.
también I'm trying to, like, porque a veces es como que, it's not because if you did this that I felt bad, it's the thing behind it, you know?
Yeah.
Entonces, tipo, how can you frame that? ¿Sabes? Coño, y para eso necesitas pensar un poco las vainas.
Es que hay dos cosas que me gustan mucho del tema de tener una relación y having these kinds of fights, que es, primero te das cuenta y es súper rápido, y una cosa que I remember thinking about it when I watched Jordan Peterson when I was a kid, which was like, when I'm in a relationship, I'm going to think about this. Y efectivamente me sucede, que es tipo, when you're having a fight, you're not having a fight, but you're not fighting about what you're fighting about. You think you're fighting about what you're fighting about, but you're fighting about the dragon behind that fight.
Es lo que
y es tipo, hablamos. Having the emotional consciousness to look back and say, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're trying to discuss. This is the problem that we have that encapsulates these 10 fights that we've had the last 2 years. That's what we're talking about right now. Realizing that you're talking about them takes a lot of psychological growth. Y eso creo que es de las cosas que más me gusta en mi relación, que es tipo, I want to keep doing, I want to be in my relationship. But that means that I have to constantly keep growing. Yo todavía estaba viendo on Instagram and I came across this reel that said, I tell my wife that she's been married to 5 different men. Not because she has, but because I've been 5 different people. And the reason that we're still together isn't because she fell in love with my soul or she fell in love with me. It's that I made a promise to be myself with this person, even if myself changes. Y creo que eso es tan esencial en el tema de tener una pelea, que es tipo, fights will change you. And the more time you spend in a relationship, marriage is so important. The fact that you get married changes you.
Sí.
So you're not the same person the day before you get married and the day after you get married. They tell you that all the time. They just don't tell you that you both change.
Bueno, un día tampoco, pero es como que also...
In a day. In the second that you get married, you change.
I think what changes is like, perhaps your perspective. No lo sé, pues, porque al final como que I've never been there. Not been there, haven't done that, pero... También tiene gente que dice como que en verdad, you know, I just, you know, I'm still the same. Our relationship's still the same. Which is like now I have a ring on my finger. Y I don't think that's bad necessarily. O sea, si tú estás en un buen punto en tu relación con donde you're very comfortable, getting married is like, you know, we celebrate our love, but doesn't necessarily have to change the way in which a relationship works.
Oh, yeah. There's a structure behind, pero es lo que te digo, la estructura, o sea, your structure as a human being is the same that it was, except for adolescence and all that kind of stuff, is the same that it was when you were 2, but you're a different person. The structure of your relationship can be the same. We can live in the same place. We can do the same things. But your soul changes. You, as a human being, go through a process of changing. Every time you talk, every time you fight, every time you kiss, you change. Entonces, es eso. Es making the commitment to stay together through that change. Y creo que nunca lo había visto de esa manera. Y me parece que tiene muchísimo sentido.
Fair enough. Bueno, y hablando de change.
Yeah?
Last year, o sea, como que Adrian and I from different places, right? So
Yeah.
During the summer, often happens that, you know, he takes his way and I take my own.
Yeah.
Porque también es el tema de la familia. O sea, tipo, I don't see my family often. And even if I would like to, you know, spend my summer with him, I have my plans. Y sobre todo, he has his plans también, ¿no? And I knew it was going to be hard because it's, at least for us, it's 2 months, a bit more. Like 2 months and a half. And last year was like 2 months as well. And after he left this time, and even before, I was like, you know, this feels different. Tipo, I feel way more calm. I feel way more confident. Y evidentemente, marico, lo extraño que jode. Incluso creo que lo extraño más que la vez pasada. Because we've grown closer, but at the same time, I believe so much more in our relationship. And I think we've both changed so much that the experience has felt very different so far. Y, coño, la distancia fue una vaina terrible, pues. Es como que...
Obvio.
It sucks. Y, for example, for me, it works to have, like, a countdown. Pero para él eso no funciona. Entonces, tipo, I keep the countdown for myself.
Sí, yo a Marielle, cuando yo me voy todos los años me voy a algo. Entonces, el año pasado me fui 7 semanas en total. Entre que me fui a campamento, entre que fui a Alemania con mi familia, etcétera, fueron 7 semanas. It's a long time. Y yo le decía, every night before we go to sleep, I say, una noche más contigo. And every night that I'm not with her, I say, una noche menos.
Una noche menos que me falta para...
Exactamente.
Para ver. Eso a mí me funciona full. Y saqué la cuenta. Y cada vez que me despierto es, ok, ahora me faltan tantas noches. Y es como que, the fact that I see progress makes me como fluir full. Y coño, he was a person that he would have a very hard time communicating por el teléfono. Como he hates phones. Texting, calling, whatever. Como que if he can see you in person, that's what he prefers. Entonces él viera como, you know, I miss you, but it's really hard for me, nana. Y esta vez ha sido distinto. Como que I'm making an effort y yo también estoy más relajada. I'm not expecting a text all day, todo el tiempo. Como I don't need that constant, like, affirmation or like, ¿cómo se llama eso? Tipo, constant...
Reassurance.
Eso. From him in a text, papá. Pero at the same time, he kind of gives it to me.
Without you asking for it?
Sí.
Awesome.
Ojo, no es perfecto porque ya, o sea, como que obviamente we've had like small things y hay complicaciones y hay misunderstandings are the worst.
Especially when you're
distance.
text, yeah.
Es que marico. ¡Ah! Porque además imagínate que he disappears, como he needs his time to understand it, by text y yo... Ayúdame, trágame tierra.
Yeah. I understand. Y una de las cosas que pasa, 40% of people who read a text instead of listening to a conversation misunderstand the tone.
Total.
There's a very big chance of misunderstanding. We try not to talk about important stuff over the phone. Para nosotros nuestros mensajes es o cuadrar un plan súper importante, a qué hora llega a tu casa, dónde nos vemos, etcétera, o stickers de amor, tipo,
literal,
buenas noches.
Es que si tú lees mi conversación y seguro es aburridísimo.
Súper aburrido. Es más interesante ver nuestros mensajes de Instagram.
Sí, literal. Entonces, coño, es un poco ladilla, pero I think he's also made it quick, o sea, super smooth for me, como que, ¿sabes? Tipo, you know, giving me the reassurance that I need. Su mamá me escribió ayer y yo como... What?
Damn.
I was so happy. I was like, I cannot believe this moment actually arrived. Pero, yeah, I think we've changed a lot also. Como yo también me tomo las cosas menos mal. Porque yo a veces me tomo... Marica, yo sí como... Sometimes I feel like I'm so toxic. Como que me tomo mal las vainas. O que me dices una y ¿por qué no me dijiste la otra? Entonces es como que, oh, they sent me this. Who sent you that? Y ya es como que, you know, relájate. Relaja la raja, bro.
Yo con María muchas veces le preocupa ese tipo de cosas y I feel so calm. I'm leaving in a week. And I feel so relaxed about it. She's finding stuff to do on her own.
Exacto.
And it's not the first time this happens to us. Like, it's happened to us. We've been together for 2 years. We've been together for 2 different summers. We started the beginning of summer. So September was when we started. But you know what I mean? Like, it's the second time this is going to happen to us.
El segundo summer, pues.
Y
nosotros también.
El verano pasado nos marcó tanto. Y hablamos tanto del verano pasado que tipo... I have a feeling... Y ella me dijo, incluso cuando tú te fuiste, I was more nervous before you left than when you left. And the more time that you spend away, your consistency, porque yo le prometí te voy a llamar todas las noches, and I did. Even if it was at 4 a.m., I would call. Y el hecho de que, tipo, I was consistent, gave her so much calm, que siento que she has this weird faith for this next 2 weeks that I really like. Y aparte, I'm going to spend almost all the summer
Aquí, sí.
aquí con ella. Tipo, we're going to be doing stuff together all summer. Tenemos un plan de tipo gym, pool, sleep, internship, gym, pool, sleep, internship, and then do stuff on the weekends. Y la verdad es que I'm enchanted by the idea of spending my days working on, like, eating well, going to the gym, going to the pool, reading with my girlfriend. I think it would be so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at this point, when you have a long-term relationship, I don't think that you can get away with just not planning that. Sí. The summer, what you're going to do, how you're going to live through that.
Claro, porque es eso. Also having a date, ¿sabes? Donde se van a volver a ver, como que tener un plan para cuando vuelvan, como que more or less how it's going to be. Also, hablar claro. O sea, for example, tipo, he's been also very clear, tipo, this is what I can do. Maybe I will be able to do more, but this is what I can guarantee.
Yeah, this is my promise.
Exacto. Y eso a mí también como que me ayuda, ¿sabes? And it's also made me understand that it's good for me to have a life. ¿Sabes? Yeah. Como que, bro, el hecho de que yo puedo tener mis planes y mis cosas que hacer, no sé qué, hace que me distraiga. Como, I don't think about it. And then when I have some time, I talk to him. He's there for me. Always, you know? Entonces, having a relationship is amazing. Y, coño, estamos muy felices. O sea, yo siempre lo digo, para mí mi relación ha sido un pilar fundamental de lo bien que me dio mi madre.
Claro.
Como, him being there for me means so much. Y we've grown so much together. I have so much fun with him. I've learned so much. Que, coño, I love that human being.
Yeah. You know what?
No one
gets away
with anything.
Anything. We'll see you again next week. Thank you for listening. We'll see you again we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Substack, and anywhere else you get your podcast from. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Ciao.